Today is Monday, July 30th, 2018. It's time for the DC Capstone Report.
Well, it's great to be back for another podcast of the DC Capstone Report. Today on the report, we're going to take a look at the upcoming summer camp, or fall camp at the start of the season of the Alabama football team. We're going to look at the challenges facing the team. We're going to look at several players. We're going to highlight in the second segment several players who have opportunity to step up and make an impact. And finally, as we close the segment today, in the final segment, we're going to talk about Coach Saban and the challenges that he faces in putting this team together for another championship run at the Capstone.
You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by Golden Shores Productions.
Well, Gary, it's good to be back for our another podcast here for the DC Capstone Report. This is a great day. It's kind of like Christmas for Alabama football fans. It's been anticipating the season starting, and this week signifies that start as the team reports. So for the first fall camp this week, I believe it's going to be another great year for the Crimson Tide, and I know all our listeners out there who are fans will be excited about seeing what takes place. And especially Saturday is a fan day, so all of our listeners out there, you want to come to fan day, come to Capstone. A lot of great events taking place here for fan day. You get to meet the players, meet the team, meet the coaches. There's an opportunity to get on the field. So, we have a rabid, passionate fan base as Alabama fans, Gary, as you and I well know. And they are always pack out the place for fan day and stand in line for hours in the heat just to see the players. So it's going to be a great day. It's a great encouragement for the players, a great encouragement for the coaches for fan day. So all of our listeners out there get to take part in that this coming Saturday. That always signifies the start of our fall camp or our summer fall camp. It's end of the summer, beginning of the next season, getting ready for the 2018 season. And Gary, I'm excited about this year. I think there's opportunities for this team to be one of the best teams that's ever taken the field at the University of Alabama. But with that also comes a lot of challenges. So this team is going to face some challenges in the early on as we get started in our practices and leading up to our first game against Louisville. And one of those challenges right out of the gate is going to have to be setting the tone for the season. We're going to have to get out of that we are the champions mentality that we ended the last year on and move into that back to the basics, getting started for put the process in to get that mindset right, to get ready to go into a season that's going to be a long season, to accomplish each game individually and move forward to another championship. I think that's one of the biggest challenges of a team that's won a national championship, to come off of a championship season and start over and not be complacent. I think a good thing that I know, Gary, you and I have talked about is the way we won the national championship on the last play. Didn't play very well in the first half and had some opportunities in the second half we didn't take advantage of, and then finally win on that last play. Maybe that gives us a little bit of an edge to understand, well, hey, we won the championship and didn't play our best game. We can't let that happen again. We got to play our best game every game this coming year. So I think Coach Saban set it up when he said, hey, we're not finished yet. It means we didn't do our best. We won the championship, but we still can do better. And I think this team has an opportunity to come in and be one of the best teams that Alabama's ever fielded if everything comes together. Another challenge facing the team is the buy-in process. Got a lot of young players coming in, and we got to have leaders that'll step up, and we got to have young people that'll follow that leader and make the whole team buy in. So I think when we get that into practice this week and next week practices, you'll start to see the leaders emerge. And some of the leaders, I think Coach Saban has already thrown out a name in the defensive side. And of course, that's Mack Wilson. He's already mentioned that in the media days that Mack Wilson needs to step up, rise up, and be a leader. I've always been high on Mack Wilson, Gary. I think he has just a great upside. I think it can run to side. He has great speed, great quickness, great agility. I think the only thing we need to see this year from him is step up and be a leader. And as he does that and calls the signals, and as that sets the tone for the defense, I think he has a great opportunity to do that. I've always, in talking about leadership and classes and kind of studying, it's always that first follower. Who's going to be the first follower that goes in and follows that leader? Because, Gary, you're only a leader if somebody's following you. So I think that first follower, who is it going to be on the defense, or the young people, or the young ones, or the ones that are on the team now? Who's going to come up and follow his lead and then bring all the others with them. And I think that's what you call that buy-in, who's going to buy into what we do. But I think he's going to have to rise up and lead the defense, and that's going to be a challenge to get the team to buy into all those concepts. And finally, the last challenge is much more, but just one of the major ones I think that's facing this team is going to be getting to know and being able to work with all the new coaches. We haven't talked much about that, but we have so many new coaches that are coming in that have been replaced, 6 or 7 coaches, either new or in different positions. And I think the continuity of coaching and the consistency of coaching and getting to know your coaches is going to be so important that first week, second week of practice, so that they can translate down from the head coach the process that he wants his team to take on, the identity that he wants his team to take on. I think that the faster that those coaches gel with the players, I think the better our team will be along the way. So those are some of the challenges facing, and we call them challenges, but they're opportunities. They're opportunities for this team to make a difference early on in the practices that start this week, create their own identity for a team that's going to have an opportunity to win another national championship for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by Golden Shores Productions. Golden Shores Productions, providing you the best recording facility in north central Alabama.
Well, Gary, we talked about in the first segment some challenges facing the whole team. And I think in order to kind of fill in the gaps of those challenges and to fill in the plays and the things that need to be done, we have to have players that rise up and fill those places and fill those spots. And I think just want to highlight a few of the new players and newcomers that have an opportunity to make a difference this coming season and the names to look for. I think on offense, everybody's talking about the quarterback competition. We've talked a lot about Jalen Hurts and Tua. That's going to be a competition that plays out. My position on that, Gary, has been it's going to play out on the field. Coach Saban's going to play the best players. So I don't think we have to talk about that much more. We know that's going on. Whoever comes out will play the Louisville game to start the game. I think both players play, and I think that'll play out in practice and then play out in the scrimmages. And finally, there'll be somebody that starts the game, but both will play in the Louisville game. That's my prediction. I think there's other needs on the other people on the offensive side of the ball that are going to have to step up. Then we're going to see some new names come in. Does the offensive line put the 5 best players on the field? And if those 5 best players identified in these early practices are not necessarily pigeonholed into center, guard, or tackle, can they play multiple positions and put the 5 best players on the line of scrimmage? You've got Lester Cotton and Ross Fishbaker and Alex Leatherwood and Jedrick Wills and Jonah Williams. Everybody's talking about them, but interchangeable along the front line. I think one young man that's going to push them is Deontay Brown. I understand from the early practices, Gary, he's just a mauler, loves to overpower that person in front of him. So I think for a run offense, he's really a great option there to come in and play one of the guard positions. So I think they'll be pushed. I think Matt Womack pushes the players at tackle. He comes off of the injury. So you've got 8 or 9 guys there on the line that's going to be vying for those positions. And I think putting the best 5 on the field is going to be a challenge. And all those names are going to have a chance to rise up and make an impact on offense. Switching over to the defense, the impact players that have a chance to come up and do something. We talked about Mac Wilson. He has to be a leader. You got to have Dylan Moses come alongside him and play on the linebacker position. Then you look to the outside linebackers, Christian Miller and Anthony Jennings are going to have to step up in the absence of Terrell Lewis. And then in the defensive backfield, the only returning player that with any significant experience is Deontay Thompson. Trevon Diggs has some at the cornerback position. And I think a lot of people think we're overlooking Trevon Diggs. My opinion on this, and me and Martin Houston disagreed on this point this morning on our radio broadcast segment. He thought that Trevon Diggs is going to be the cog that helps us at cornerback. I think that can be true, but I really looked for Trevon Diggs to be the cog that really helps us at special teams this year. So either one of us can be right on that, but I think in the defensive backfield, the truth is we're really thin, and you're going to have some young players step up, like your Kerrig McDonald's, your Xavier McKinney's that are on the team now, and then your players that are coming in, like your transfer Savion Smith. He has a chance to step up at a cornerback. You got a player, Nigel Knott, that's on the team now. He has a chance to step up. He's been in the system 2 or 3 years. But then you got some 5-star players that are coming in, 4 and 5-star players to play the safety and the cornerback position. They're going to be able to compete for starting jobs. So I'm looking for looks to see some big things out of Patrick Surtain. I hear he can really play the cornerback position well. I think Eddie Smith is going to have a chance to contribute. Josh Jobe, Jalen Armour-Davis, all these freshmen coming in. So look for them to step up on defense and play well as well. We don't talk much about our special units, but I think Trayvon Diggs has an opportunity to do well. Henry Ruggs III, opportunity to do well in the return game. And then you got to look at our punter and our kicker. We got to find a new punter and a new kicker, and I think they'll identify them in the first week of practice. So there's some of the names for our listeners out there, Gary, to kind of watch for in these early practices, see who's catching the eye of the coaches, because you got to get noticed in these practices. You got to do the right things. You got to make the right decisions in practice in order to be able to play in a game. So I think the coaches will look at these players and have an opportunity for them to make an impact in the coming season.
You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by Golden Shores Productions. Golden Shores Productions, providing you the best recording facility in north central Alabama.
Gary, right here on the final segment today, I want to concentrate on Coach Saban and the challenges facing him this year with this team. And we've alluded to some of the challenges facing the team, and some of them bleed over to the same thing, the challenges that Coach Saban would have to face this year. But before I go any further than that, I just can't help but mention we locked Coach Saban down for a new contract this past week. I think he's here for the University of Alabama to stay. I know all of our listeners out there, the fans of the Crimson Tide, will be glad to know that. I think it helps us in recruiting. He has a very lucrative contract. He made a statement that he and Miss Terry are bought into the Tuscaloosa. It's their home. They have deep roots here, and they aren't going anywhere. So I think that's a great thing to have him locked in. I think, people want to say, the national media, the talking heads want to say, hey, it's the quarterback controversy, quarterback competitions, what he's focusing on. I promise you that's not what is keeping Coach Saban up at night. I think the number one challenge he faces coming in, if anything's keeping him up at night, is trying to come up with who's going to play in that defensive backfield. We mentioned a lot of names in the second segment. You know that Coach Saban coaching the defensive secondary is near and dear to his heart. I think he's going to have a hands-on with them, with the young players. And I think teaching technique, teaching how to play the ball, that's all going to be important this first week of practice, second week of practice coming up. So I think that's a big challenge is replacing so many starters and contributors, over 10 players who started or contributed on defense that are missing or either are gone because of injury already this year. So I think that's going to be his biggest challenge is replacing that defense. And also finding the cohesive offensive line unit. We've got great quarterback play. We got great running back play. We have great playmakers at offensive wide receivers and tight ends. I think Coach Saban's offensive challenge is going to be with a new offensive coordinator and a new quarterbacks coach and a new wide receivers coach and a new running backs coach and a new line coach. Everybody's new on those offensive side of the ball. Having them come together, translating down what he wants to do offensively in his mind, his philosophy. The biggest challenge will be getting that to work together, come together. I think it's going to be better than last year. I think the setup of having a quarterbacks coach is going to help both quarterbacks. I think the new energy infused in the other new coaches is going to help the team. So I look for us to be better offensively this year. And if he can put together a good defensive backfield and find some good subs in the linebacker position, get that middle of the defense shored up, I think he's going to have an opportunity to make a difference on defense. And I think how he utilizes the young players, and we see stars arise from these young players, I believe that makes a difference on our defenses this year. So there's some challenges facing Coach Saban, but Gary, you and I know he as well can rise to the occasion. I think he brings a great wealth of experience in. I look for him to put on another number one defense on the field, along with a great offensive team to complement it. I look for us to win many games this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see us go undefeated and have an undefeated national championship season. I think the potential is there for this team. The ceiling is high, so I think Coach Saban puts another great team on the field. Look forward to seeing how they're going to develop in these first practices. You've been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each week at this time by Golden Shores Productions. GoldenShoresProductions.com, the best recording studio in the state of Alabama. You can also hear the DC Report on the Martin Houston Show at the 102.9 Tide, 102.9 The Blitz. This coming week, it'll be moving to Tuesdays at 6:15.